Hey everybody, Doe here, and of course you knew this was coming. It's the Wat Tambor double green update for Secrets of Power, and guess what? The deck got some serious gas, so I can't wait to talk about this. But before we jump into it card by card and then talk about some strategy with it, I also want to mention that we are partnering now with Into the AM. I've been partnered with them on my personal channel for a while. I absolutely love their clothes, and right now they have their Black Friday sale going, so there is a ton of stuff at a very good discount. They've got a lot of great t-shirts, pants, hats, you name it, with a lot of great designs. If you use this code on the screen right now, into the am.com/ggdoa, you'll get an extra 10% off on top of whatever other sale you take advantage of. So definitely go check it out. Absolutely worth it. I wouldn't partner with them if I didn't believe in it and wear the clothes myself, so wanted to extend that to you as well. But it's time. It's time to talk about some Wat Tambor. I am quite excited about this. So let's get into it. So I guess, first of all, forget Mon Mothma, forget Captain Rex, forget Bail Organa. There's only one true double green swarm deck, and that's this deck on the screen right here. It will crush your opponents. It will make them go, what in the world is happening? And it's thematic as well. Come on. Mon Mothma with the droid manufactory? That makes no sense. Wat Tambor with the droid manufactory? That makes perfect sense. Separatist synergy. That's what we're all about here. So let's dive into it card by card. And again, we got some really great stuff in Secrets of Power. The basic idea of the deck is to flood the board, understandably, and then to play Unity of Purpose and win the game. But there is a lot more that goes into it, and that is not our only path to victory. So we're going to talk about that as we go through the deck here. And we'll start with the Corrupt Politician. Now, this was a card that was in the Palpatine Spotlight deck, but it's just a great one-drop. It's 2/2 for 1, well-statted. If you control more units than your opponent, it gains Sentinel, which is oftentimes true in this deck. That said, the fact that this can gain Sentinel so easily also works really well in that it gets attacked into and killed a lot. And we want units to die in Wat Tambor because we want to buff other units, right? That +2/+2 to another unit can add up to some pretty serious damage very quickly, and that's what I've always really liked about Wat Tambor, even before Unity of Purpose was released, is that you have this way to push damage and make them attack into your board to prevent the damage, but then them attacking into your board actually gives you more damage. It's a really kind of weird, cool dynamic, and his ability doesn't cost any resources, so I think it's just really good. So, Corrupt Politician fits perfectly into that. The Sentinel is really nice, but just a 2/2 for 1 is great as well. So, let's move on to the Droid Starfighter. We've got a little bit of space in this deck, but we don't need a ton because we're not really trying to fight for the space arena. These are nice to, again, have something in space that can poke a little bit, that can die, that we can buff. Unopposed to attack for 3 damage if something on the ground dies. And again, it's a Separatist. That's important because of the Droid Commando unit we're going to look at a little bit later. But again, another nice cheap space unit. And we've got some other 1-drops going on, so why not include that as well? Moving on to Salacious Crumb. Not a Separatist, but just a really great card in his own right. And what you're going to notice is that there is a little bit of healing in this deck. And between Salacious Crumb, who when played heals 1 damage from your base, and then Colonel Yularen, who makes it whenever you play a command card you heal a damage, you can get some significant little incremental healing that can just barely give you the edge in certain matchups. I went back and forth in the initial lists a lot on Crumb and Yularen, but in the end, I went with 3 of each because they're just so good, right? And then Salacious Crumb's ability to deal damage to something on the ground is sometimes, clutch for taking out a Sentinel that has 1 HP left or something like that. And at 3 HP himself, Salacious Crumb is a great recipient of the temporary Wat Tambor buff because you can buff it. That takes an action. They obviously have a chance to respond, but Salacious Crumb going to 5 health makes it very difficult for them to take him out before he can swing for 3. So he's useful there too. I mentioned Colonel Yularen already, but we'll look at him again. When you play a command unit, heal 1 damage from your base. He's a 2/3 for 2, just a great unit to drop on your first turn. And again, just giving you that little bit of incremental healing where it's a card that they don't really want to attack into because he's not super threatening on his own, but if you leave him be for too long, he just heals like crazy, right? Especially in a deck like this. So again, it's a lot of this deck is to make your opponent attack into things they don't want to attack into and then take advantage of them because of that. Confederate Courier, great first turn drop, 2/1 in space, and then creates a battle droid token when it goes away. Again, Separatist synergy, important in this deck, and just the ability to get a unit out of this unit being defeated is really nice too, right? So fits in perfectly. Jar Jar Binks, one of our new Secrets of Power card, absolutely great with plot. The general idea is that because we flip on 5, we have 5 resources to spend on plot, and that is just enough to do Chancellor Palpatine plot, which we'll look at in a little bit, and Jar Jar Binks plot. So we'll talk about that whole combo a little bit later, but Jar Jar Binks is good on his own in that when you play him, he gives that +2/+2 buff. That combined with, say, another Wat Tambor buff, gives something +4/+4 for the turn. So, even if that thing that you're buffing only has 1 attack, you're swinging for 5, and you've got a 2-1 on the board. So you can get to some pretty high damage numbers with small units very quickly with this deck, and take a big chunk out of their life with a unit they never expected to hit them as hard as it does. So Jar Jar Binks is great for that, but what we really want to do is get him in our resources to plot out later. Poggle the Lesser, another fantastic turn 1 play. He's a 1/4, so he's hard to remove, and many times you're going to just use his ability to make a Battle Droid token. Again, these are more tokens to then die and activate Wat Tambor's ability, and Poggle having 4 health makes him, once again, a good recipient of the buffs if you have a turn where you're like, hey, I have a chance to double buff Poggle the Lesser and just hit them for 5 or something like that, So occasionally you do want to swing with him if you can get those buffs in. But yeah, great. And also Separatist Energy. Important. Another new card. But we got so many new cards for this list, actually, from Secrets of Power. I didn't expect it going into this set, but it makes perfect sense, right? We're all about the official stuff. We're all about, a little bit of Separatist buffing here, I suppose. But Trade Route Taxation, this is a card that has been very useful at times, and then other times you just resource it. I'm running 3 of for now. I will say this card is a little bit on the bubble. Maybe it goes into the sideboard, but since I'm still heavily in the testing phase right now, I want to run 3 so that I run into the card a lot and get experience with it, right? I think when you're testing a new card in a deck, you just want to go 3 of because you just want to see it as often as possible. Choose an opponent. If you control more units than that opponent, they can't play events for this phase. Very, very common. Also a great plot too. If you are plotting up Palpatine, this fits in very well with that, and then makes it so that your board is even more protected, right? If they can't play something like Bombing Run or something, to just clear all that stuff you just played, then you grab the initiative and then Unity next turn. So there you go. Trade Route Taxation. Useful card. Then, probably, I would say the best new card for this deck is a Chancellor Palpatine. 3 for a 2/2. When played, if you control leader unit, create 2 spy tokens and give those tokens Sentinel for this phase. And it has plot. And this is such a clutch card. Because if you think about what this makes our flip turn now with Wat Tambor, this makes it so that because we're running Droid Manufactory as well, we deploy Wat Tambor, we deploy Palpatine, we get 2 Sentinels we get 2 spies with Sentinel, and we get 2 Battle Droid tokens. So just by flipping Wat Tambor, you end up with 6 units on the board, and that's also 4 different unit types. So that means Unity of Purpose will give you +4/+4 at a minimum. Add into this anything that happened to survive up to this point, and you've got a very wide board and a very good chance of just straight up winning the game. And a lot of times when I deploy Wat Tambor, I'll just take initiative after that. I won't even attack, right? Especially if they've spent all their resources and they would take initiative too, because I really want to play Unity of Purpose first. If I can do that, 90% of the time I just win the game. So Chancellor Palpatine is such a big deal with that too. And the fact that the spies have Sentinel is very crucial as well, because if you do get into a situation where you do want to do more of a normal attacking turn and attacking with Wat, buffing something else that was already on the board, the Sentinels make sure that A, Wat Tambor is protected from units that your opponent might have, and B, if a spy Sentinel dies, that's another way to activate Wat Tambor's buff too. So just an absolutely fantastic card for this list. Easy 3 of. It's what, kind of elevates it, I think, now in set 6. Droid Commando, another great card. There are going to be many games where you just don't get the pieces of the combo, and that's okay, because this deck has existed since set 3 just fine without the combo. The combo makes this deck a lot better, but it isn't necessary for victory, if that makes sense. And the Droid Commando is so good in that it can come out and kill one of those 2/4 units from Legacy of the Force and still be alive after that, still have 1 HP. It's just really, really strong. You nearly always have a Separatist out too, so the ambush is 99% of the time active. but just a really great card. Phase 3 Dark Trooper. Not a Separatist, but that's okay because it's a 3/3 Sentinel. That's very good for us because of all the reasons we stated earlier. And then that little extra ability of when combat damage is dealt to this unit, give an experience token to it if it survives the damage, can come up big a lot. We're going to talk about command in a moment, but there are a lot of occasions where you can give the XP from command to this unit and then enable it to take whatever swing it's about to take, right? Or attack into something and just get bigger. And just on its own, independent of all the other mechanics in the deck, become a problem for your opponent. So it's a very useful card in a lot of ways. This list I feel is very tight for the most part, with a little bit of exceptions, but I'm pretty happy with all the cards in it right now, including Attack Pattern Delta. This is another just great double command card. Again, this is one of the things that kind of makes up for if you don't get all the combo pieces together, but you still have 3 units out, you can give a total of +6/+6 across the board. And I will say this card is hard to use optimally. You really have to think about what each buff on each unit will cause your opponent to do, right? And so what you're trying to do more than anything with Attack Pattern Delta is create impossible trading situations for your opponent. You're not necessarily looking to load up one unit with the most damage or think how much damage can I do with this card. You're trying to create a situation where everything can attack through. That's the puzzle you're solving with Attack Pattern Delta, which I love the little puzzle solving aspects of this deck too. It's one of the things that makes it really fun to play. So maybe I end up putting the 3/3 on a battle droid token, right? And then the 2/2 on something else. I just try to arrange it in a way that my opponent can't solve it with what they have on the board. They have to play something else from hand. And if they do, they do. You know, if they have it, they have it. But at least I'm putting them in a situation where they need to use at least one card themselves to handle the card that I played, right? So I think this is a difficult card to use well, but once you get the hang of it, it's such a fun little mini game, right? Moving on to Command, which is, the double aspect card that a lot of people kind of, were ignoring for a long time, but it is really, really good in this deck. We'll go to the least used one first, the return a unit from your discard pile to your hand. That can occasionally be useful if you have an early Jar Jar, an early Palpatine, and I guess you wouldn't play your Palpatine, but like if you have something that you wanted in plot, but you just had to play it early just to get something out there. And, so then you can grab it with command, plot the next turn, and then be able to put it out there. You can use the 2 XP in the way we talked about already, just to buff something. The damage from something is really, really good. A friendly unit deals damage equal to its power to a non-unique enemy unit. Non-unique, I was kind of like always hoping, I wish it was not non-unique. But maybe this would be a little bit too good if it was. But I don't think it would have been. But either way, it's still a pretty useful ability in most cases. And then put this event into play as a resource is really good too. So what you can do with this is a couple different things. You don't necessarily need to ramp with command, right? Everybody thinks, I need to ramp with command. It's a must choose, right? But it's really not in this deck. There's many cases where I will use one of the other 2 abilities. A lot of times it'll be the XP and the damage ability to set up a better flip turn the next turn, to then set up a better unity of purpose the turn after that, right? You have to think a few turns in advance, of course. So with this, that is something to keep in mind, is that you don't always have to ramp. Now, that said, if you have a unity of purpose in your hand, if the first 2 turns have gone really well and they haven't been able to really clear the units, if they haven't died for any reason, then ramp and skip the plot stuff, because you still get Wat Tambor and a couple battle droids. So if you have a couple other units out, you can still put together a big unity of purpose turn and hit for 20 something on the 5 resource turn, on what would have been your 5 resource turn, right? So you just kind of have to gauge the game and know when I need to ramp, when I need to save up for a bigger combo turn later. But command becomes a very, very versatile card. And it always kind of was, but now in this update, it really, really shines. Clone Commander Cody. And, we're getting into some cards that were really useful in earlier versions, but I'm kind of on the verge of experimenting with something different. That said, I think Cody is still useful. The +1/+1 buff, the Overwhelm is really nice. You're nearly always going to have Coordinate, so that's not really an issue. And one of the best things about him is that he demands an answer from your opponent. You play Cody, they will drop their entire plan to kill Cody, right? So it's not just that you're playing this card to buff your board. You're also playing this card to derail whatever your opponent had planned for that turn. And it's very good at doing that. I think it's better at doing that than anything else, is just derailing your opponent's game plan. Moving on to Overwhelming Barrage. You can see this is down to a 2 of now. Just the fact is that this has become such a consistent combo deck in my experience that you just don't get a lot of games where you're going to OB something. The game doesn't go that long. So in a good way, and that you usually win before you would need it. So I've got 2 of in there because you still do have the games where you need to play it, in a non-combo style. And there's a situation where you buff something with Wat Tambor, then you overwhelming barrage and just wipe their board. So, it still is useful, but I'm pretty sure it's a 2 of now instead of a 3 of. Speaking of other 2 ofs, we've got the Invisible Hand. This is another one of those cards that's kind of a comeback mechanic. Everything kind of in the higher cost strata of this deck is sort of comeback mechanic cards, where this is something where you can get a little bit more out. You can put a 6/6 in space that can be hard to answer sometimes, and just kind of push through for that last little bit of damage, right? Again, this is assuming you're playing it in a non-combo way, right? The combo just didn't come together, and you have to play it straight up like we did before Unity of Purpose existed, like before Set 6 existed. Unity of Purpose, which we'll go to right now, used to be kind of like an icing on the cake card. This used to be like, oh, sweet, it's a Unity of Purpose game. This is so fun. Now, like, kind of every game is a Unity of Purpose game. You get to set up for it so well at this point, where in the past, there was a lot of games where you just end up resourcing it, right? Because you just didn't have the board. I had to win another way. But now, man, with the plot, with getting out, Palpatine and Jar Jar and the spies and the battle droids and Wat Tambor, like, you can set up so many just 40 plus damage turns. I'm not exaggerating here. 40 plus damage turns with Unity of Purpose. So, this is the card. We need to have 3 of it, obviously. This wins so many games. Not 100% necessary, but now that we can capitalize on it much more consistently, it's an easy 3 of, and it becomes a win condition more often. Moving on to Darth Vader, the legendary from Set 1. Ambush, search the top 10 for any number of villainy units with a combined cost of 3 or less and play them for free. This is a really useful card, again, as a comeback mechanic. I've got a couple others in the sideboard. We'll talk about the sideboard in a second here. But, it's just a good card where it's like if you're a little bit behind, you can play Vader. You can find, a droid commando if you've got another separatist out there, and so you get like a 5 ambush and a 4 ambush. You can find like a Phase 3 Dark Trooper. Even something like a Yularen sometimes, or a Crumb sometimes can mean the difference, right? Or a Jar Jar Binks, right? No, Jar Jar is not villain. Never. You can't do Jar Jar Binks. I'm getting ahead of myself. But anyway, you can't do Yularen either. What am I talking about? All right. I haven't been cheating with Darth Vader. Anyway, he's a good comeback card. I only have 1 of him in there now. I don't think many games get to the point where you even have 7 resources, so he just doesn't get used a lot. Now the final card in the main deck. This is another card that's very much in the vein of I didn't get my combo pieces. I have to just win a normal way. And so Bactoid Spider Droid is great for that. Just using a couple Battle Droid tokens early, or a couple of your cheaper units once they're damaged, to get this out on like your 4 resource turn, right? Run into something, and then ideally it doesn't take a lot of damage and they have this big unit to deal with. This card alone, the reason why I'm still running 2 of them is because this card just by itself has locked down so many games for me. If I can play it early and they can't answer it, you just win a lot of times, right? Because they'll get into a situation where whatever the next card is they play on the ground it'll get answered by the Spider Droid again, So it usually goes 2 for 1, nearly always, or it just starts swinging the base for 5 if they can't handle it. So it's just a good card. It's another one of those win condition kind of cards, I feel like. If it's used well, you really need to be careful about when you exploit. But it's another sort of like stopgap band-aid kind of card if things aren't going super well. But let's move into the sideboard. We've got 3 eager escort fighters. There's still a lot of space decks out there, so it's really nice to just be able to throw 3 of these in there and then say, hey, I'm going to take out your, Victor Leader. I'm going to take out your Black One. I'm going to take out your Falcon or something like that, and then my unit dies, so I can buff something else, and the space threat is eliminated. So it's just really good at helping you stay even with space decks. So easy 3 of. Merciless Contest. This is another one where, if you're running into more of like a tempo value kind of deck, your Sabines, your aggro stuff like Sabine is what I'm saying. Some of the Legacy of Force decks that have a lot of those like beefier Jedi units. It's nice to just be able to say, all right, one of your valuable units or your only unit is going down and I lose a Battle Droid token, right? So that comes in from time to time. We've also got choose sides, which I used to run in the main board, but again, like I just don't feel like a lot of games get to that point. But if you do have an opponent that's handling your board very effectively and playing big stuff on their side, choose sides can just win the game out of nowhere, right? If you can grab a big ready unit and get that finishing damage. So useful. And then 2 more Vaders. I think Vader is another thing that you just sub in if you need to. If they're very ground heavy, and you can get to that point in the game, then you cut like the invisible hands and throw in Vaders. You cut the spider droids and put in Vaders or something. Or if they're pretty removal heavy or trading very well, you can even cut like the attack pattern deltas and put Vader in there if you're just not going to have a big board oftentimes. So yeah, he fits in pretty easily. But that's it. That's the list. So just again, going over the basic strategy, the original strategy that existed before with Wat Tambor, double green, still absolutely exists in terms of trying to play as many units as possible, making intelligent trades, knowing what to buff to then do the most damage to your opponent. You are an aggro deck, so you nearly always want to be going face. That said, if you can run a battle droid into something to give +2/+2 to something else, then you've turned a 1 damage hit into a +2, right? So you need to know kind of when to sacrifice your units. You need to be able to recognize how to set up turns where you can have something die, Wat Tambor buffs something, then he flips, then he attacks and buffs something again. So you've given +4/+4 to something just with your leader ability, plus the 3 damage from Wat Tambor, plus the damage on whatever that unit had to begin with. I've had games where like Salacious Crumb does like 9 damage between like command and Wat Tambor and all that kind of stuff. It gets crazy. So there's a lot to this deck. I will say I don't think it's easy to pick up and play, but I think it's a ton of fun to just pick up and play, right? And man, now that we have this like amazing mechanic of plot, bringing out Palpatine and Jar Jar, or Palpatine and trade route taxation, there are so many games where it is just over so fast because you just get such consistent access to a wide board, and combo cards like Attack Pattern Delta and Unity of Purpose become so much better, right? So yeah, I was so excited to make this video because this deck is way better than ever. I know a lot of people are kind of on the double green hype train on the heroism side right now, but don't sleep on Wat Tambor. He is an awesome, fun leader. This is a really good, strong deck. You can destroy a local with this. I have. And so I hope you go forth and enjoy it as well. Thanks for watching, everybody. Let me know if you try this deck, what you think. Let me know what you would cut, what you would change if you were building it for set 6. And also like, subscribe if you're enjoying the content on the channel. It helps us a lot. Join our Discord as well, and we'll see you next time.